So the tech advisory group is made up of very awesome thought leaders, event tech connoisseurs, as well as event professionals that can bring different perspectives, especially in this hamster wheel of where we're in the Corona coaster at the moment. So you're seeing it from event organizers, event planners perspective, as well as from the event technology perspective. So we're going to dive into a couple of questions.
I think that it's going to be adapting to the new normal, essentially, that after the pandemic, I believe that face-to-face events will change permanently. I've been watching this space for 23 years, and I've never seen an unprecedented whirlwind of innovation that's been happening around virtual and hybrid events. But I think the impact of that will carry over substantially into the future. I think that virtual and hybrid meetings will have a significantly larger market share, and I think that will impact. It's time to really thinking about, throw out our standard playbook of how we've always done meetings, and it's time to reassess and look at it. What about event timing, and how do you monetize it? There are lots of things up in the air, and I think that this adapting to this very substantial change is exciting, but it'll be one of the biggest challenges that we all face.
I think the two biggest things we're seeing is fear and legislation. I'm going to start with legislation because probably it's the biggest, and it's the one that we have some control of. If the law says you cannot travel and you cannot leave your house, then there's nothing a DMO or destination can do. It's that simple. And I know one of your follow-up questions is what can they do? And I do have a series of things to say, but that's the first thing. What does the law say, and how does that affect my job, and how does that affect my mission? How does that affect what we do? The second is fear. The fear of people getting sick, the fear of, was the sickness created because people travel as much as they do? Because instead of having events at home like we used to, or at a nearby hotel or a nearby restaurant or space, we were flying all over the world for our incentives, our conferences, our expos, etc. So to change that fear around is something that's going to take constant, valuable, consistent content. And that's something that I'm working on quite hard with various DMOs and various destinations.
Oh my gosh, that is just like the business I created around iSocialExecution is executing. It's put the rubber meets the road, and it's reimagining what your production team looks like. So those people who can deal with virtual buttons, not just hardware all the time, right? And who actually can take the content and deliver it there. So you've got to redefine roles, expand roles. And I think event planners, this is an exciting time because as a planner, you get the ability not only to expand your knowledge around what goes into producing hybrid experiences for people, but also the ability to participate in the process too, where your skill sets lie. You don't always have to do it, but at least you know about the process. And if you choose to fly in and do it, you can.
I actually think there are two opportunities we are facing right now, and at least I think I encourage everyone to actually recognize and take benefit of it. One is we've been forcing to quickly adapt him into the virtual world, which means I'm not saying virtual world will replace where we are originally. It will never replace, but it's actually always like a Wild West for event professional that we know it's there and we know there are a lot of potential, but it's always, yeah, we'll deal with that later. It will come around later sometimes in the future, and where the future is right now. And we've been throwing into that space just in no way that we can imagine about it. So this is actually a good opportunity because this is how now we are. It's like now we've been thrown into Australia in the 17th century, and let's make the good out of it, right? I think another thing is actually, and that kind of circle back to what the anchor conversation we were talking about earlier is, because what I found actually, many of our clients right now are looking at us in a more heavy way. Traditionally they were looking at us as a guidance for sure. They depending on our expertise to execute whatever they want to, they have in their place. But so many times, and it's not anyone's fault, but we just super easy to fall onto to just a service provider. And because that was what Event Professional was before. But what this year really show is the client is in a loss in a way that they actually looking at us to give them guideline. And I think, I'm not sure about you guys, but like for me is this year is I probably have more strategy conversation with any of my client in my entire career.
The challenge for event tech into the next 10 years are going to be creating simple tech solutions that are easy to engage and understand and use for every single stakeholder. Again, organizer, exhibitors, speakers, visitors, buyers. Tech continues to be difficult to use for some of these stakeholders, and that shouldn't be the case. We need a Macintosh moment in our industry where basically all stakeholders will start thinking, wow, this is very easy to use, friendly, fun. Tech was not like that around live events during the last couple of decades, and tech founders and companies need to simplify technology on a way that is easy and fun to use.
For the end users, you mean?
For everyone, for organizers, for visitors, for exhibitors, for sponsors, for speakers. You're a speaker on a regular basis, and you know the pain. You need to learn again and again and again for each specific technology, and it's bumpy, which means it's going to happen, and it's going to happen faster than ever before because everyone is listening, and that's the opportunity for event tech. The opportunity is the organizers are finally listening, and the exhibitors and visitors to events are pushing organizers to engage with tech like never before. Right. And COVID was, I keep saying COVID was a Zoom crash course for billions of people. All those billions of people are thinking now, should I really need to go to this event face-to-face, or I can simply jump on a video call and watch keynotes and have some virtual meetings? That pressure on the mindset from a customer will push organizers to deliver more value into the face-to-face experience if they want to keep that audience alive. If not, that audience can simply jump into a couple of keynotes and 10 meetings and skip the face-to-face event. And that's a dangerous situation for organizers.
First of all, the virtual hybrid events, that goes kind of without saying with that. But then, I think that we are learning lots during this time about attendee engagement technologies and, new ways of gamification that will roll over into hybrid and face-to-face events. Mobile app technology has been, I think, a real important part of how hybrid events are being worked through, that you will have a common networking application, even on site or virtually, with push notification and with gamification and networking and that part of it. I think that the data integration tools, and especially data analytics using artificial intelligence, will play. We're just starting to scratch the surface on that right now. This is going to be huge in this next decade. I also think that augmented reality and virtual reality will play quite a significant role. The virtual reality for the virtual space, for that, but for augmented reality, when Apple finally comes out with their augmented reality glasses, which will be way better than Google Glass and much less intrusive looking and all those things. I think that there's going to be a huge market for that, for the on-site event, for wayfinding, for networking, for all sorts of things. So those are just a few of them. Then the final one is production companies. Yeah. With a hybrid event, it's really planning for two separate events, two completely different audiences, and that virtual audience is going to require production quality standards. It's more like a live television talk show rather than putting a camera in the back of a room and expecting people to watch it. So production values will need to increase, and I think that there's a big opportunity for that.
I think event tech companies have to go the way of unicorn startups. They have to be 10 times better than their alternative, 10 times faster, or 10 times cheaper. That's it. Uber didn't invent a new car. They invented an easier way to book a cab. Airbnb didn't go up against hotels. They merely showed a different way to get a different experience, firstly, and then a different venue for the same thing you wanted. So maybe we find, a way that's 10 times easier to register for an event. Maybe we find a way for something to be 10 times easier to share something we just did. I've noticed you have the QR code, for example, in our video. What a wonderful way to share something, knowledge, information that's fast, that's quick, that's easy. That's what we need. And I think that's what we need to see. It's that reminder of, is it 10 times cheaper? Is it 10 times easier? Or is it 10 times faster? Because if it's not needed right now. It's just a nice to have, not a need to have.
Well, if you're thinking with a decade, which is very important because everyone right now is thinking for the next 6 months or 12 months to survive. If you're thinking on a decade, I think that the next decade is going to be by far the most interesting decade in our industry for many reasons. And COVID will be just an accelerator on some necessary changes that our industry was looking for many, many decades. I believe that the MICE industry will need to rethink the value proposition. And when I say rethink, it's basically from an organizer perspective, but also from any other stakeholder around that particular event, exhibitors, visitors, speakers, you name it. I believe that the old model was super successful for hundreds of years, but it's not built for the digital age. And finally, organizers, exhibitors, and visitors or buyers are realizing that technology could and should be an important part of the solution and not the enemy. And because of that, the value proposition needs to be rethink. And that's a fantastic opportunity, but also it's a massive challenge because some people will basically lose their boats and not going to be able to catch up and survive. And some people will thrive like never before because those communities are going to be ready for change.
Great question, and I don't know whether this is the right. I don't think there's the right answer for this. But for me, I will say is we need to be more open-minded and to have better understand of what other industry are doing, especially the broadcasting and filming industry. Because I think what teach us this year and looking at what the future forecast is going to look like is. No matter what this pandemic, when going to end and when we will go back to normal, virtual event is here to stay. And we should actually not call them virtual event. It's actually a virtual experience. And virtual experience, people are craving for that we need to learn what's the behavior for that. We need to learn what will make people enjoy that experience virtually. It's going to be very different than we used to when it's an in-person event experience. And those are something we need to ask ourselves. Like I always give if people ask me, well, so what can I do? I always give them the suggestion is to go watch a few episodes of The Voice. Because I keep coming back to this idea. I think The Voice is that perfect example of what the future hybrid event going to look like. Is you have the in-person audience, not right now, but like they used to do. But then how you can continue to create such an engaging experience during that hour or 2 hour when you are watching them. And
I think what they need to do is start by sharing a series of messages. And the message is this: who are we? Why you should visit? Who is visiting? what we've done to keep you safe, and then what are those people saying after they've just done it? Yep. So those constant messages of, hey, we're still here, and this is what we're doing, and this is how we're keeping you safe, and this is who's just here, and then don't trust me, trust them, and have that voice come over and tell you, will change everything. So the power of social proof will come back in very strongly. But instead of social proof in the form of TripAdvisor saying, great location, great destination, great food, it's going to say, it was safe, I felt secure, I felt seen, I felt heard. And I think that's another thing. It's very easy in the beginning where people who wore masks and didn't wear masks. And it was this idea of, well, they didn't seem to care and that was fine with me. Or, well, they didn't seem to care, but that really hurt me. But if a venue or destination DMO says, oh, I see you, and I see that you need to know that we're all wearing masks, so we're going to show you we are. And you need to see us cleaning your luggage before arrival, well, we're going to show you we are. That's going to make a very big difference. And I think the other thing is work closely with representatives who are policy makers. Work closely with your convention bureaus, work closely with your mayors, work closely with those people whose job it is to support your destination, to support what you're doing. Because I feel like that's what we've, and this is a very controversial opinion, and I can see I'm going to get absolutely ham-basted for this. The reason the UK events industry hasn't seen this massive help from the government is because we haven't always been the easiest or the quickest to show, this is how much we're doing for the country. These are the actual stats. This is the actual money that's been made, and working closely with the government to keep pushing our industry. We kind of just did our own thing. We were all doing very well for a long period of time. And then all of a sudden we weren't. And we were like, hey, hold on. We've helped you so much in the past. We've brought all this money through tourism and through events. And they've just gone, we've never heard from you. So we didn't even know you were there. So, you know, the American expression, a squeaky wheel gets the oil. That's what needs to happen in our industry.
I think that it's, first of all, is being technology literate and have technology literacy and curiosity is one of the things. And being adaptable to change, I think, is going to be a key component of it. There's so much new things that are happening, so many new ways of doing it, and having an understanding about what the options are out there with technology, having an understanding of digital marketing and social media and all those things that go into it, I think would be the things that I would look for if I was in the hiring process.
Yeah, I agree with you. I would add two more things to that. I would say event organizers actually lack an understanding of content marketing. And I think that content creation and marketing is going to be a key differentiator between one experience to another, as well as community building. And so community building, not only member base, if you will, and so forth, but it's going to have more to it on the design side, so that they need to have that savviness in order to move forward, in my opinion.
Look, I started organizing events more than 25 years ago. And I remember when I started building the specific team for that particular event, my first thinking was, I need a good person for operations, and I need a good person for hospitality, and for this and that. And there were basically operations-related roles and sales-related roles. And that was basically the talent recruitment and talent needs and training and focus. Right now, it's just the opposite. If you're thinking that you're starting to create your team and skills around those specific topics, it's probably not the priority. The priority is digital skills, community engagement, customer acquisitions, and things that are normal in many other industries and should be normal and a priority in events as well, which means, and that's a challenge, because I keep saying, I have very good friends in big organizers, and I talk with them on a daily basis, and they keep telling me, yeah, all my future employees are going to be digital guys. And I keep saying, good luck, because many of those guys, they're not looking to work for an events company. They want to work for, Google or Facebook or Tesla or any of those names, which means you need to be very creative, attracting the right talent, and realistic and pragmatic, because attracting the top talent is probably not going to be realistic, because that talent is going to work for tech startups or tech companies. But you can attract some talent that is still not ready for prime time, and you can nurture and help that talent for the next 5 or 10 years inside your company, and have a fantastic return of investment on that talent and loyalty and opportunities. Going back to your question, it's all about digital skills, community engagement from a digital angle. I continue to believe that the next generation of events are going to start digitally first, and face-to-face is going to be an extension on that digital community. And if you want to do that, you need the talent to do that since day one.
I think what we're gonna see is that the cross. I think that my big insight I feel is we're gonna see a lot of the cross sector things happening. We're gonna see a lot of corporate planner who used to very good at producing amazing shows, that they are going to cross over into maybe the association or actually tapping into a solely virtual world. But you're also going to see a lot of the association planner or agency planner who used to really good at managing projects that kind of cross over into some of different specific sector that they may be not taking on the creative role, but they are taking on the project manager role, because there's kind of like, I definitely see that, especially this year, that personally been working with different project and with actually different team, that the need for both sides is actually, it used to be can somehow separate them a little bit. Corporate planner is doing your own thing, medical planner doing your own thing, association planner doing your own thing. You're all planner, but you are different type of planner. But I think right now we're going to see a lot of the blends coming into place. And honestly, it's actually not a bad thing, because I think that also gives us a better power in terms of showing us to the outside world, if I can say that, value of us that able to bring to the table.
Voice to me is the trend. Voice technology. You know how we had AR, we had VR, right? And we also had the ability to people say, oh, well, Siri has been around for a long time. Alexa has been around for a long time. Well, voice activated systems, because people are just getting used to artificial intelligence, right? But think about what voice is going to do, where I can talk into a system and it will be animated and create those experiences for me on my behalf. So I think voice is going to be it.
Well, I mean, that's interesting, because based on voice recognition and voice technology, or AI-driven technology, you have this overlay, or underlay, I should say, of data that can come very beneficial and be impactful for experiences going forward.
I see more tools to see more spaces, an easier way to experience the offering, and an easier way to share that offering through tech. Now, whether that starts with something like an Oculus 2, augmented reality, I'm walking through the venue, or like you mentioned earlier, it's an avatar experience where I create an avatar like a game who goes and experiences a venue and tries things and touches things and tests things. But that mixture getting closer and closer and closer. And about 3 or 4 years ago, it was in my crystal ball, it didn't come to be, but I said, we'll have something called augmented entertainment reality. It won't just be a virtual tour, like walking through Cairo, Egypt, but I'll be able to get some sort of entertainment with it. Maybe I'll be able to take a photograph with me on the Sphinx, which I can then share with everyone, that then brings you to my experience. I've said this before, I think tech will get closer and closer to giving us an experience that we can touch, feel, and share, versus I was in it, it was great, I don't know how to explain it to you, you have to go do it yourself. But if we can take some of that across, things like taking photographs in a space and sending that out, or recording like we're doing now, that then is sent out and downloaded and shared with multiple people in the easiest format possible.
Well, I think that they're going to be, the trend is going to be toward more shorter and more focused sessions. This is what the attention span for a virtual attendee is just not as long. And I think that hybrid events will play not just as a bridge to carry us past through the pandemic, but I think that the event organizers will realize that there's a substantially larger market out there, and that changes the rules about how you monetize things, how you engage people, and how your sessions look. And I think that it's going to be more like the TED Talks than these 90-minute sessions where somebody's walking around on a stage. I think that and it's going to go two ways as well. I think that one of the hottest things at the National Speakers Association right now is learning how to do virtual presentations instead of live presentations. So that opens up, and they're developing their studios and doing this. And this potentially has if you start bringing in virtual attendees, there's opportunities for bringing in virtual speakers that are higher quality, would cost less probably because they're not flying all those parts of it. Is I think it's just the time to open up. This is a great time to reinvent ourselves, and I think that's what will be happening in this next decade.
So I think a couple of different ways. I'm a big blockchain person, Dahlia, you know that. So when it comes to security of the data is there, I think that we're at a point where we realize how key it is for us to say, hey, this is your persona. This is a persona of my attendee, and let me give back the attendee their own data and their own journey and their walk with me and their content, and let them choose how and what they want to get from me and how they want to go through that journey with the content that we have been doing. And I think planners are going to finally realize that they're true project managers, and they can fly and in roles that they haven't in a long time, and never will we come out of virtual. Hybrid situations. We're not going to do that.